The desperate call. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called at the worst possible time. Ambassador Keth of the Zilari Federation stood before the assembled representatives, his usually pristine blue skin now pale with exhaustion and fear. The holographic displays around the circular chamber showed the devastating reality of his people's situation. Honored members of the council, Keth began, his voice barely above a whisper but carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced acoustics. The Tharkonian Empire has begun their final assault on our colonies. 3 worlds have already fallen. Our agricultural stations are burning. Our research facilities have been captured or destroyed. The images on the displays shifted to show the aftermath of Tharkonian attacks. Once beautiful Zilari cities lay in ruins, their crystalline spires shattered and blackened. The Zilari were a peaceful species, known throughout the galaxy for their advanced terraforming techniques and their ability to grow food in the harshest environments. They had never developed weapons of war, believing that their contributions to galactic civilization would protect them. They had been wrong. General Torvik of the Alterian Defense Force leaned forward in his hover chair, his massive frame casting shadows across the briefing table. Ambassador Keth, we understand your situation is dire. However, our main battle fleets are currently engaged on 7 different fronts. The Tharkonian Empire has timed this perfectly. Keth's hands trembled as he manipulated the holographic controls, showing the tactical situation. General, our intelligence suggests the Tharkonians have committed 80 warships to this campaign. Their commander, Vex, has never failed to conquer a system once he begins his assault. Admiral Sarah Chen sat quietly in the human delegation section, studying the data with calculating eyes. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 5 years ago, and humanity was still viewed by many as the newest and least experienced member species. Most of the other races saw human military technology as primitive, suitable only for minor patrol duties and system defense. What about evacuation? Asked Counselor Vrex of the Mantid Collective, her insectoid features showing concern. Surely we can mount rescue operations for your civilian population. Keth's expression grew even more desperate. The Tharkonians have established a complete blockade. No ships can enter or leave our system. They are not interested in conquest alone. They want to make an example of us. Any species that resists their expansion will face the same fate. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zilari weren't just facing defeat, they were staring at extinction. Admiral Chen finally spoke, her voice cutting through the heavy atmosphere. Ambassador Keth, Earth will respond to your request for aid. Every head in the chamber turned toward the human delegation. General Torvik's expression showed surprise mixed with skepticism. Admiral Chen, with respect, the human fleet is even smaller than our available forces. What could Earth possibly contribute to this situation? Chen stood slowly, her gray uniform bearing the simple insignia of Earth's United Defense Command. She was a small woman by human standards, but her presence commanded attention. We will send 1 ship. The chamber erupted in surprise murmurs and translated conversations. Ambassador Keth's face showed a mixture of hope and confusion. Admiral, I am grateful for any aid, but the Tharkonians have 80 warships. How can 1 vessel make a difference? Chen's smile was cold and calculating. Ambassador, human warfare doctrine developed differently than our galactic neighbors. While other species built bigger guns and stronger shields, we learned that the best victory is the one your enemy never sees coming. General Torvik's laugh was harsh and dismissive. Admiral, warfare is about mathematics, firepower, defensive capabilities, troop numbers. Your human ship, no matter how advanced by your standards, cannot overcome such overwhelming odds. Perhaps, Chen replied calmly, but mathematics assumes both sides are playing the same game. Dr. Finn Maxwell, Earth's chief xenobiologist and strategic advisor, stood beside Admiral Chen. His thin frame and intellectual appearance contrasted sharply with the military bearing of the other delegates, but his eyes held a keen intelligence that made several alien representatives shift uncomfortably. "If I may," Maxwell said, adjusting his glasses, "the Tharkonians are excellent warriors. Their tactics are proven, their technology is advanced, and their psychological warfare is extremely effective. They have conquered 17 systems using the same basic approach: overwhelming force, brutal efficiency, and the complete destruction of any resistance." Several delegates nodded in agreement. The Tharkonian Empire's reputation for savage effectiveness was well known throughout the galaxy. Maxwell continued, "However, their very success has created a weakness. They expect their enemies to fight in predictable ways. They prepare for fleet actions, defensive formations, and traditional siege warfare. What they don't expect is an enemy that refuses to fight their war." Councillor Vrex's antennae twitched with interest. "What exactly do you mean, Dr. Maxwell?" "The Tharkonians are predators," Maxwell explained. "But predators are most vulnerable when they believe they are completely safe, when they think their prey is helpless." Admiral Chen activated her personal communicator. "Captain Rodriguez, what is the status of Shadow's Edge?" The reply came immediately through the chamber speakers. "All systems green, Admiral. Crew is ready for immediate departure." "Shadow's Edge?" General Torvik inquired. "I'm not familiar with that vessel class in your fleet specifications." Chen's smile grew wider. "That's because it's not in our public specifications, General. Some things are better demonstrated than explained." Ambassador Keth leaned forward eagerly. "Admiral Chen, are you certain your vessel can help my people? The Tharkonians show no mercy. If your ship is captured or destroyed—" "Ambassador," Chen interrupted gently, "the Zilari have been our friends since Earth joined the Council. Your people shared your terraforming knowledge freely, helping us establish new colonies. Your agricultural techniques have prevented famine on 6 human worlds. We do not abandon our friends." Dr. Maxwell opened a small datapad and began reading. "The Tharkonians have established their fleet in a standard siege formation around your 3 inhabited worlds. Their flagship, the Decimator, sits at the center of the formation under the command of General Vex. Intelligence reports suggest he's using this campaign as much for training his younger officers as for conquest." "Training?" Keth asked, horrified. "They're taking their time," Maxwell confirmed. "Vex wants his subordinates to experience a complete planetary conquest. He's turned the destruction of your people into a learning exercise." The cold brutality of this revelation sent a chill through the chamber. Several delegates exchanged disturbed glances. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "Captain Rodriguez, you have clearance for immediate departure. Rules of engagement are flexible interpretation." "Understood, Admiral. Shadow's Edge departing in 30 minutes." General Torvik stood abruptly. "Admiral Chen, I must protest this course of action. Sending 1 ship against 80 is not just futile. It's cruel to give the Zilari false hope. When your vessel is destroyed, they will face despair on top of their existing terror." Chen met his gaze steadily. "General, in 5 years of Council membership, has humanity ever made a promise we couldn't keep?" The question hung in the air. Despite their skepticism about human military capabilities, the other species had learned to respect human reliability in diplomatic matters. When humans committed to something, they delivered. "No," Torvik admitted reluctantly. "But military action is different from diplomatic agreements." "Is it?" Chen asked. "War is just diplomacy by other means. The only difference is the conversation includes weapons." Ambassador Keth rose from his seat, hope flickering in his large, dark eyes. "Admiral, what should I tell my people? They are preparing for the end. Their faith in the Council, in galactic civilization itself, is breaking." Chen turned to face him directly. "Tell them that help is coming. Tell them that humanity remembers its friends. And tell them that the Tharkonians are about to learn that there are different kinds of strength in the galaxy." The communication array activated again, and Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the chamber. "Admiral, Shadow's Edge is departing Earth orbit. Estimated arrival at Solari space in 4 days. 4 days. Ambassador Keth's shoulders sagged slightly. According to his latest intelligence reports, the Tharkonians plan to begin their final assault on Solari Prime in 6 days. If they held to their schedule, there would be barely any time for whatever the humans were planning. Dr. Maxwell seemed to read his thoughts. Ambassador, do you know what the most dangerous predator on Earth is? Keth shook his head, confused by the apparently random question. Humans, Maxwell said simply. Not because we're the strongest or the fastest or have the biggest teeth. We're dangerous because we're patient, we're creative, and we never give up. Every other predator on our world hunts in predictable ways. Humans learn to hunt in ways their prey couldn't anticipate. General Torvik's frustration was evident. Dr. Maxwell, with respect, we are discussing fleet actions and military strategy, not primitive hunting techniques. Maxwell's smile was eerily similar to Admiral Chen's. General, what makes you think there's a difference? As the council session ended and the delegates began to disperse, Ambassador Keth remained behind, staring at the tactical displays showing his dying worlds. Admiral Chen approached him, her expression softening with genuine compassion. Ambassador, I need you to do something for me, she said quietly. Anything, Admiral. I need you to trust us. What happens in the next few days may seem confusing or even wrong to you. The Tharkonians will react in ways that might appear to make the situation worse. But I need you to remember that humans think differently about problems. Keth studied her face, searching for any sign of doubt or deception. He found only quiet confidence and determination. Admiral, may I ask what kind of ship you are sending to help us? Chen was quiet for a moment, then said, we're sending a ship built by people who learned that sometimes the best way to win a war is to make your enemy defeat himself. As the human delegation departed, Ambassador Keth was left with more questions than answers. But for the first time in weeks, he also had something he had almost forgotten: hope. Meanwhile, at the edge of human space, a ship unlike any other in the galaxy slipped quietly into hyperspace. The Shadow's Edge was not the largest vessel in Earth's fleet, nor the most heavily armed. But it carried something that no other ship in galactic civilization possessed: the accumulated wisdom of a species that had survived by learning to fight wars that couldn't be won through conventional means. The Tharkonians were about to discover that not all prey was helpless, and not all predators hunted in ways they could understand. The human solution. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Shadow's Edge, watching the stars shift around them as they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Solari system. The ship maintained complete silence, its advanced stealth systems making it invisible to conventional sensors. Around her, a crew of 30 specialists worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. Passive sensors only, Rodriguez ordered softly. I want a complete picture of their formation before we announce our presence. Lieutenant Commander James Park, her tactical officer, studied the incoming data with growing concern. Captain, I'm reading 81 Tharkonian vessels arranged in 3 defensive spheres around the inhabited planets. Their flagship is positioned at the center of the formation, surrounded by heavy cruisers. Rodriguez nodded grimly. The intelligence reports had been accurate. General Vex had arranged his fleet in a textbook siege formation, designed to prevent any relief force from reaching the planets while maintaining maximum firepower coverage. It was an impressive display of military precision. Any sign they've detected us? She asked. Negative, Captain. We're reading as background radiation on their sensors. The Shadow's Edge was humanity's most classified project, built around principles that other galactic species had never considered. While alien civilizations focused on building bigger guns and stronger shields, human engineers had perfected the art of not being detected until it was far too late. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's synapsychologist, looked up from her analysis station. Captain, I've been studying Tharkonian behavioral patterns during their previous conquests. They follow a very predictable psychological warfare pattern. Explain, Rodriguez said, moving to examine Vasquez's data. They begin with overwhelming displays of force to break enemy morale, Vasquez continued. Then they offer terms of surrender that seem merciful but are actually designed to identify resistance leaders. Finally, they eliminate all leadership and potential troublemakers while enslaving the remaining population. Rodriguez studied the tactical projection of the Farconian fleet. Where are they in this pattern with the Zilari? Based on intercepted communications, they're approaching the final phase. General Vex plans to demand surrender in approximately 36 hours. If the Zilari refuse, he'll begin systematic destruction of their cities. The captain walked to the forward viewport, looking out at the distant glow of the Zilari worlds. Millions of innocent people were counting on them, and the odds seemed impossible. But Rodriguez had learned long ago that humans specialized in making the impossible look routine. Analysis complete, Captain, Park reported. The Tharconians have established overlapping fields of fire around each planet. Any conventional approach would face the combined firepower of the entire fleet. Rodriguez smiled coldly. Good thing we're not making the conventional approach. Communications, open a channel to Admiral Chen. The holographic display activated, showing Admiral Chen's image in the secure communications chamber aboard Earth's orbital command station. Captain Rodriguez, what's your assessment? The situation is exactly as intelligence predicted, Admiral. The Tharconians are confident, well-positioned, and completely focused on the planets below them. Perfect. Are you ready to implement Phase 1? Rodriguez glanced around her bridge, meeting the eyes of her crew. Each person had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. But they also knew they carried with them the hopes of an entire civilization. Ready, Admiral. Then remind the galaxy why humanity survived long enough to reach the stars. Chen out. As the communication ended, Rodriguez turned to her crew. Listen carefully. What we're about to do has never been attempted in galactic history. We're going to win a war without firing a shot at the enemy fleet. Lieutenant Commander Park looked confused. Captain, how do we eliminate 80 ships without engaging them? By making them eliminate themselves, Rodriguez replied. Dr. Vasquez, transmit the prepared psychological profile to all stations. Everyone needs to understand exactly how Tharconian military psychology works. The data flowed to each workstation, showing detailed analyses of Tharconian behavior patterns, command structures, and psychological weaknesses. Dr. Vasquez had compiled years of research into a comprehensive guide to the enemy mind. The key insight, Vasquez explained to the crew, is that Tharconian military culture is based on absolute hierarchy and personal dominance. Their officers achieve rank through combat prowess and political maneuvering. They fear showing weakness more than they fear death. Rodriguez activated the ship's tactical display. Phase 1 begins now. Navigation, take us to intercept coordinates for the outer patrol vessel designated Target Alpha. The Shadow's Edge moved silently through space, approaching a lone Tharconian destroyer positioned to watch for approaching relief forces. The crew of the enemy vessel had no idea they were being hunted. Target Alpha in range, Captain, Park reported. Single destroyer, crew of approximately 120. Perfect. Weapons, prepare a single quantum torpedo. Set yield to minimum destructive force. The weapons officer looked surprised. Captain, minimum yield won't penetrate their shields. It's not supposed to, Rodriguez replied. Fire on my mark. The torpedo launched silently from the Shadow's Edge, streaking toward the unsuspecting Tharconian destroyer. At the last moment, Rodriguez gave another order. Detonate torpedo 50 meters from their hull. The explosion bloomed against the enemy ship's shields, causing no damage but creating a brilliant flash visible across the system. Alarms began wailing on the Tharconian vessel as confused crew members tried to understand what had happened. Captain, Park said with growing understanding, they'll report the attack to their command structure. Exactly. Communications, intercept all Tharconian transmissions. I want to hear their response. The enemy communications filled the bridge speakers, translated by the ship's eye. The destroyer captain's voice carried confusion and growing anger. "Command, this is Destroyer Vengeance. We are under attack by unknown enemy forces. Single torpedo impact, no damage to ship systems." General Vex's response came immediately, his voice harsh with suspicion. "Captain Korath, explain how you were attacked without detecting the enemy vessel." "Sir, our sensors show no enemy ships in range." The torpedo appeared from nowhere. There was a long pause before Vex responded. "Captain, are you suggesting that invisible ships are attacking my fleet?" The tone in the general's voice carried a clear threat. In Varkonian military culture, officers who showed incompetence or cowardice faced immediate execution. "Sir, our sensors are functioning normally, but the attack definitely occurred." Rodriguez smiled at the growing tension in the enemy communications. Phase 1 was working perfectly. "Navigation, move us to target Beta," she ordered. The Shadow's Edge silently approached another isolated patrol vessel, this one a heavy cruiser positioned near the second planet. The same procedure was repeated. A single torpedo detonated against the ship's shields, causing no damage but maximum confusion. This captain's report to General Vex was even more agitated. "Command, heavy cruiser domination, reporting attack by unknown forces. Single torpedo, no enemy vessels detected." Vex's response carried barely controlled fury. "Captain Thane, are you telling me that 2 of my ships have been attacked by invisible enemies?" "Sir, our sensor logs will confirm." "Your sensor logs will confirm that you are either incompetent or lying. No known technology can render ships completely invisible to our detection systems." Dr. Vasquez monitored the psychological profile readings on her screen. "Captain, Vex is beginning to doubt his own officers. Varkonian command structure depends on absolute trust between superior and subordinate. We're introducing doubt into their system." Rodriguez nodded with satisfaction. "Continue to target Gamma." Over the next 6 hours, the Shadow's Edge methodically approached 12 different Varkonian vessels, always striking isolated targets with single torpedoes that caused no real damage. Each attack was reported to General Vex, and each report made him more suspicious of his own officers. The breaking point came when Captain Drek of the battleship Annihilator reported the 12th attack. "Sir, I swear by my honor that we are under attack. Something is targeting our fleet with precision strikes. Our shields are holding, but the enemy is clearly testing our defenses." Vex's response was explosive. "Captain Drek, you are either the victim of equipment malfunction, or you are part of a conspiracy to undermine my command. Report to the flagship immediately for interrogation." Rodriguez watched as a shuttle departed the battleship and headed for the Varkonian flagship. Phase 2 begins now. Communications, prepare the special transmission. Dr. Vasquez activated her psychological warfare protocols. The message they were about to send had been carefully crafted to exploit specific weaknesses in Varkonian military psychology. "Broadcast ready, Captain. Transmit on all Varkonian frequencies." The message went out across the enemy fleet, reaching every ship simultaneously. It was brief, simple, and devastating in its implications. "General Vex, this is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Shadow's Edge. We have been observing your fleet for several hours. Your tactical formation is impressive, but it has several weaknesses we have already exploited. We offer you one opportunity to withdraw from Zilari space peacefully." The response from the Varkonian flagship was immediate and predictable. "Human vessel, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your pathetic single ship cannot threaten this fleet." Rodriguez smiled. "General, we have already demonstrated our ability to strike your vessels at will. The 12 attacks on your patrol ships were merely warnings. Your own officers have reported our capabilities to you." The silence that followed was significant. Vex was now forced to confront the reports from his captains, reports he had dismissed as lies or incompetence. "Continue your transmission, Captain," Dr. Vasquez urged. "He's processing the psychological implications." General Vex, Rodriguez continued, "Your reputation precedes you. 17 conquered systems, never a single defeat. That's an impressive record. It would be unfortunate if your first failure occurred because you underestimated a species you know nothing about." The response took longer this time. When Vex finally replied, his voice carried a new note of uncertainty. "Human Captain, if you have the power you claim, why have you not used it? Why waste time with warnings?" "Because, General, we are not the Tharkonians. We prefer to win our wars without senseless slaughter. But make no mistake, we will protect the Zilari." Dr. Vasquez's readings showed increasing psychological pressure throughout the Tharkonian fleet. "Captain, their internal communications are showing signs of panic. Junior officers are beginning to question their commanders, and commanders are beginning to doubt the mission." Rodriguez activated Phase 3. "All stations, prepare for full stealth approach to the flagship. We're going to show General Vex exactly what kind of enemy he's facing." The Shadow's Edge moved silently through the Tharkonian formation, passing within kilometers of enemy vessels without being detected. The ship's advanced stealth technology rendered it completely invisible to their sensors, allowing it to approach the massive flagship unobserved. "Position achieved, Captain," Park reported. "We are directly beneath the Tharkonian command ship." "Perfect. Weapons, prepare a full spread of quantum torpedoes. Target their engine sections, weapons arrays, and command systems. Set yields for maximum disable, minimum destruction." "Torpedoes ready, Captain." Rodriguez took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine whether humanity's approach to warfare could succeed against overwhelming odds. Fire. 12 torpedoes launched simultaneously from the Shadow's Edge, each one precisely targeted to disable rather than destroy. The weapons struck the flagship's critical systems with devastating accuracy, leaving the massive ship powerless and defenseless, but with its crew intact. The psychological impact on the Tharkonian fleet was immediate and catastrophic. Their most powerful vessel, commanded by their greatest general, had been crippled by an enemy they couldn't see or detect. General Vex's voice came over the communications, no longer confident but filled with confusion and growing fear. "All ships, emergency protocols. We are under attack by unknown forces with capabilities beyond our understanding." Rodriguez opened a channel to the entire Tharkonian fleet. "General Vex, your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is at our mercy. The Zilari are under our protection. You have 1 hour to withdraw from this system." The hour that followed was one of the most tense in galactic history. The Tharkonian fleet, faced with an enemy they couldn't fight because they couldn't find it, slowly began to break formation. Ships that had never retreated from any battle started moving toward the edge of the system. General Vex's final transmission was brief and bitter. "Human Captain, you have won this day through trickery and deception. This is not honorable warfare." Rodriguez's response was calm and measured. "General, we used the tools available to us, just as you used the tools available to you. The difference is that our tools saved lives on both sides." As the last Tharkonian vessel jumped to hyperspace, Captain Rodriguez opened a channel to the Zilari government on the planet below. "Dr. Keela, this is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Shadow's Edge. The Tharkonian fleet has withdrawn. Your people are safe." The response came immediately, filled with joy and disbelief. "Captain Rodriguez, how is this possible? How did one ship defeat such a massive fleet?" Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the crew who had made the impossible victory happen. "Dr. Keela, humanity learned long ago that the best victories are the ones where everyone lives to fight another day. The Tharkonians learned that there are different kinds of strength in the galaxy." As news of the victory spread throughout the galactic community, humanity's reputation underwent a fundamental change. No longer were they seen as the primitive newcomers with outdated technology. They were recognized as masters of a different kind of warfare, one based on intelligence, creativity, and the understanding that the strongest weapon was often the human mind. Ambassador Keth's message to Admiral Chen was brief but heartfelt. "Admiral, The Zilari people owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid. But more than that, you have shown the galaxy that there are alternatives to endless cycles of violence and conquest. Admiral Chen's response reflected the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. Ambassador, that's what friends do for each other. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to find better ways to resolve our differences. The Shadow's Edge set course for Earth, its mission complete, and its crew forever changed by the knowledge that they had participated in something unprecedented in galactic history. They had won a war without destroying their enemies, saved a civilization without sacrificing their own, and proven that human ingenuity could triumph over seemingly impossible odds. In the years that followed, the Battle of Zilari space would be studied in military academies throughout the galaxy, not as an example of superior firepower or advanced technology, but as proof that sometimes the most effective weapon was the ability to think differently about the nature of conflict itself.